There we go. Here we are, coaches coaching. I think we're on episode, I think we're at like 20. I think we're at 20, which is great. Very exciting. We've got Layne in the club. He's over at university, and today we are talking trunk stability. Is that correct, Layne? I got to get him off mute. Layne?
Okay.
Go ahead.
I'm going to use my headphones, not the other ones. There we go. Okay.
There we go.
Perfect. That way it won't echo weird.
All right, Layne. So we're talking trunk stability. I'm going to get this little sheet popped up here for us, trunk stability in the FMS. So what we're looking at, guys, is we have active straight leg raise, shoulder mobility, rotary stability. So trunk stability push-up, that's the one we're talking about today. Okay, and so Layne, why don't you talk about kind of the definition of it? What are we looking for? And then if you need me to pull up different things, I can do that.
Perfect. Yeah, so we'll start with this sheet right here. I love how this really breaks down the FMS from the mobility exercises to the motor control, and then moving into whole body functional patterning. So trunk stability is part of that motor control group, okay? Essentially, can you take the mobility of these other two tests and then put them into something where you can stabilize through movement? So I'm going to just give you guys a couple excerpts that I think are really important on trunk stability, okay? So biggest thing is the goal of the trunk stability is to initiate movement with the upper extremities in a push-up position without allowing movement of the spine or hips. Extension and rotation are the two most common compensatory movements. These compensations indicate prime movers within the push-up pattern incorrectly engage with the spinal stabilizer. So as we show you guys a test, okay, that's something right there. I know Greg Cook loves to use big words, so we'll just kind of summarize that really quickly. So when you're doing a push-up position, you're looking for the main compensations. Notice here how this guy's into lumbar extension on a 1. His low back's just super extended. Okay, that's one of the compensations. The other one they're saying is rotation. So you're rotating to one side. And like it says, essentially, your stabilizers are firing in the wrong order. Okay, incorrectly engaged before the stabilizers. So we're trying to say, okay, when we move through a push-up pattern, do we have the ability to stabilize our entire trunk as we go through the pattern? And that's a really important skill to have with your horizontal pushing, because if you don't, you're putting yourself at risk for a low back injury, for a shoulder injury. Notice RJ's drawing these straight lines here on these guys. These are really important things to look at. And the push-up being one of our main exercises we're going to do in helping somebody build upper body strength, if they can't maintain trunk stability, then we're going to have a problem. So that's kind of the basic gist of what trunk stability is like it says here, the push-up movement pattern tests the ability to stabilize the spine in the sagittal plane during the closed genetic upper body symmetrical pushing movement. So can we stabilize the spine as we do a push-up? That's really all you're testing, and that's a really important skill. So that's kind of the definition of what we're looking at with trunk stability, okay? One more thing on that is like it talks about here in the FMS, implications of core trunk stability are poor reflexive stabilization of the core. So your core is not stabilizing properly. You have poor upper body strength or scapular stability. This can also cause poor performance, or you're stiff in your thoracic spine or in your hips. So those are all going to be things we're going to look at as we walk through a test. Any questions kind of on the definition of trunk stability so far, what we're looking at before we walk through an FMS trunk stability test? Great.
Okay, so what we'll do is we'll have Layne demonstrate. I'm going to spotlight this other camera here. we'll have him demonstrate basically a trunk stability test. So what you're looking at is he's going to line up his thumbs with his clavicle, right? So
that's going
right
to be the female. There's going to be two, one for the female, one for the male. The male is going to line up.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
With the, yeah, you're right on the clavicle with the top of the forehead. So here's my thumbs. Here's my forehead.
So he's going to put his thumbs at his forehead. Sorry, I'm doing a male. I forgot about that. So yeah, and then from there, he's going to bring his body up off of the ground, right? So he's going to put his hands in the ground, dig his feet into the ground, and then he's got to be able to get his body in a straight plank into a push-up position from there. So go ahead, Layne. There you go. And then back down. Okay, so we give him three opportunities to be able to do this, right? If he's able to do it with the first one, which he was, then he's good. If not, then we move his thumbs down. Okay, so if he did that, what he just did, where his chest is coming up, or maybe his butt went in the air, right? Anything beyond just a straight plank, right? Then we're gonna move his thumbs down, okay? And now he's going to do it from there. If he can do it from that position, now it's scored a 2, okay? And then if he's not able to do that, then it's a 1. Okay, so 3 is if he's able to do it with bullweagle, right? Thumbs at the forehead, okay? 2, if he moves his thumbs down to, I believe for the men, it's chin or clavicle, we can clarify. And then if he's not able to do that, then it goes down to a 1, okay? Great. Okay, so that's the scoring. So now what do we find from that scoring? Okay, so let's say...
Let's do a couple bad options.
Yep.
First one, let's do is extension. Like, if I do this, even if it's just a little, I see guys all the time in the gym do this. See where my low back is? The spine is going into that lumbar. One of the first things you look for. The other thing that's really common is you'll see this on people. They'll rotate.
So if you can see, he's rotating, right? So his spine is rotating. He's pushing. Typically what's happening is they're pushing with one hand harder than the other, right? Or they don't have the rotary stability. It's one of those two things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now that we know what we're looking for on the test, we're looking for those main things, right? Not going into extension, not going into rotation. Let's pull up the sheet on the stability WOD. So now that you know what you're looking for on the test, let's give you strategies on what to do about it. So RJ, if you want to pull up he's pulling this up on the screen. So now this is from Brendan Rarick's stability WOD. Here we're going to just walk through.
Right?
Yep, that's exactly right.
There you go. Okay, so now
we're going to walk through these.
So now, yeah, so now that we've been able to establish where they're at in their trunk stability, right? 1, 2, 3. Now these are different correctives and different, not even necessarily different correctives, but different things to be able to work on that trunk stability from a, easiest to most dynamic at the bottom, right? We'll go through these step by step. As we go through, if you got questions, please let us know. So first one, push up, plank, hold. Let me, just 1 second here. There we go. So push up, plank, hold. Go ahead and walk us through it, Layne.
Okay, so biggest thing here, like I love what Brendan put on here, not sexy, but extremely vital, right? We got to first be able to maintain integrity in that push-up position plank, right? So you're going to have somebody get into a push-up position, and the cues I always love to use, squeeze the heels, squeeze the knees. Imagine you got those oranges in your armpits, or screw your hands into the floor. and then blow the dust off the floor, blow out your birthday candles, blow out a dandelion, whatever you want. And I am just practicing. You maybe even see it, I'm shaking right now because I'm really trying to engage everything. I'm practicing that ability to stabilize my whole trunk and lock it down. Okay, it's a hard style plank, right? That's the building block of, pressing, right? If I can't maintain that position, like a lot of the CFSC guys always love to say about a push-up, it's just simply a moving plank. But we've got to start with the ability to hold the plank first before we move up from there.
Guys, you'll notice, and I've mentioned this before, and I'll mention it again, on the programming, we've done breathing, number of breaths on there for a reason, and that's to get your clients used to those big, huge breaths, right? That they're, you talk about cleaning the floor with your breath, blowing out dandelions, right? Big, huge exhales, right? And coaching that, right? Every single time, coaching it, because people forget all the time.
Totally do. I can't see the screen anymore. Remind me what the next one is, RJ.
Your next one is hands elevated push-up.
So now from here, we've demonstrated that we can hold a plank. Now we're going to take some of the load off of our body weight and do a push-up elevated. But it's all the same cues, right? Screw my hands into the box, oranges in the armpits, maintaining a straight line, heels are squeezing together. If they're having trouble again, either go back or squeeze a pad to reflexively engage their core. Lower. I always say, blow yourself away from the box.
Dude, I like that one. Blow yourself away from the box. Okay. All right. I see you, Layne. Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be your next progression up. Just seeing, okay, that's what I love about the stability wad. It's just a building block, right? Can I take what I got from the first one, add some load, which is then going to take us into the next one, which, correct me if I'm wrong,
going
but I
back
believe
to, yeah, I'm just putting it back up. So hands elevated push-up. So we just did push-up plank. We just did hands elevated push-up, and now we're going to bottoms up push-up. Okay, so back to you, Layne.
Okay, so
back
now
to
we're
you,
seeing
University Layne.
we're seeing if we can start from the bottom, get everything engaged, and then the thing that's great about the bottoms up push-up is it's going to test if they can turn their core on, because a lot of people, when they start from here, they can lock everything in, but if they start from their body, you'll commonly see how I did that wrong? So they got to be able to brace their core against the pad, and then same thing, blow yourself away from the floor, move as one piece. So bottom up push up. That would be
Awesome. So
third
like you
up.
said, guys, main thing is maintaining that plank position the entire time, right? That is the biggest key, is maintaining from ear to ankle, right? That plank position the entire time. Okay, so from there, Layne, you're going to horizontal pressing with external load.
So guys, you can start going into our strength progressions on a push-up at this point, or you can start doing a dumbbell chest press, right? So if I'm grabbing external load, now can I take all those same things I've learned, but now with external load? Maintain core stability, and I always say the same thing, blow the weights away from you. But if they didn't learn those lessons, you're going to see numbers like this, where they're not getting that trunk stability in their shoulders. You're going to see numbers like this, where they arch their back to get it up. They're not engaging things. So that's why we start with the push-ups, because before we start adding external load, we need to make sure the system can stabilize itself. We can really load this up, go heavy dumbbells, go to a bench press.
And that's one thing you'll notice on programming. I think or the one that we're currently in is on the dumbbell press. We have specifically written on there, they need to be able to show trunk stability in their push-up. And I can't remember exactly how we worded it, but that was essentially.
I think it said like own the push-up first, something like that.
Exactly right. They need to be able to own the push-up first before going to that dumbbell bench press.
Yep.
Sorry, last one you've got, Layne, is medicine ball chest pass.
Okay. So, just so we don't have to run over to the far wall.
And I'm really looking forward to how you're going to do this in the cage.
Let's run to the wall. We're going on a field trip. We're doing it.
There we go. So while we're doing the field trip and they're running to the wall, let me get this pulled up back up again.
This is great.
See here. This is great. So we started with the push-up plank hold, right? Going from there, hands elevated push-up. From there, bottoms up push-up. And then you go in horizontal. So you're seeing, we're getting more dynamic as we go, right? And then from there, we're going into the medicine ball chest pass. We're at the wall now. Layne is there. Cue Layne at university.
Boom!
Right, so obviously just a little bit more dynamic version, stepping into it, doing standing, right, rocking the hips back. Okay, go ahead, Layne.
Guys, the thing you'll notice on this dynamic chest pass, if they haven't been able to practice everything we just led up to, then it's like throwing a ball away from a wet noodle. Like, you can't develop force if you can't, stabilize your trunk first, right? You can't produce that power without a stable core. So that's why this is the last progression. This is a power progression, is because all of those other things have to be there in order for me to really get any kind of force or speed with the medicine ball. So that's why it's so crucial that we walk through these things. We look, okay, what is, like we talked about, let's go back to that whole idea of every movement is a screen. Okay, well, if I was watching them throughout the warm-up, one of the things you guys get to watch is a lot of times we do inchworms in the warm-up. How they perform an inchworm is a very big indicator of how they're going to perform any pressing movement that day. Because the inchworm will expose trunk stability for better or for worse. So, and there's lots of other things you're going to look at in the warm-up.
Demo that real quick on the inchworm.
So I'll show you the bad version of what I always see first.
Right, so you can see an unstable core, right? That's going to translate, this equals that, right? We always talk about that. We keep bringing this concept up. This equals that, right? And that's all it is. Every single movement is going to translate, right? If you're weak in your core during this, you're going to be weak in your push-up, and it's going to also translate if you end up doing, medicine ball chest pass. It's all going to translate. It's going to translate into your front squat, right? It's going to translate into everything, right? This equals that across the board. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's great. I think that's a really important point to make, is that be thinking of the reason we're walking through all these FMS patterns is because they're literally the building blocks of everything, every exercise we're going to do. We always say that it's all the same thing. Well, if you know what you're looking at, and that's what we're trying to identify today with trunk stability. Okay, trunk stability, that's our basic movement. Well, you're going to see that on, that's motor control, right? So if they can't do that, what makes me think as the trainer that they're going to be able to try this new banded push-up progression that looks so cool, or what makes me think that they're going to do a feet elevated Bosu ball push-up when they can't even do a great hardstyle plank, right? So that's our job, to make sure we're building one upon another Or else that whole saying Charlie Weingroff likes to say, you're not working on, if you're not working on intervention, you're working on liability. It's our job to know these things so that we're not putting people at a risk where they're just ready to get injured, right? That's how you progressively get somebody stronger and safely. And that's what we're all about.
No, exactly. No, exactly. And to piggyback on what Layne is saying, we need to make sure, too, that we are communicating this to our clients, right? Just like, back with Bartholomew, right? Him talking about communication and communicating with the client, right? This is all great, right? For us to be able to identify it, right? It's one thing for me to be able to watch someone do an inchworm and identify that they have poor trunk stability. And then from there, be able to adjust their program, right? That's one thing for me to do that, okay? It's a completely different thing for me to do that, and then for me to simply articulate that to a client, right? And help them understand, hey, your poor trunk stability is going to affect this, this, and this, right? And this is why we're doing that, is because of that, right? And so that's one thing that we've got to make sure we're doing is constantly trying to connect the dots with people and helping them see, hey, this is why we're doing that.
I love that, guys. That's point right there is so important, because that's your opportunity to build value for your client, right? Because that's the building block of like your relationship of like, this is how I'm helping you. I'm not just, otherwise in the client's mind, everything we're doing just seems arbitrary. But when you do what RJ just said so clearly of connecting the dots of, hey, I was watching your inchworm today and you're really struggling to maintain that low back. So as we go into that push-up progression, I really got a special thing I want you to work on today. It's going to help you so much, because as we own your core and get your core stronger, we're going to progress you so much more. But right now, if I have you do this, I'm really just sending you down a bad path. So here's what we're going to do. Here's how we're going to do it. And this is going to get you to that goal you told me so much better than if we just go this main way. That's my job as a coach, to do that for you. Does that make sense? And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. You're such a great coach. Thanks so much. We love you.
So one thing, Layne, I was wanting to maybe do is go through, take the Move View 6-point checklist through the hard style plank, and just go through those 6 points on each one, because I think that'll help kind of connect some of the dots with the Move View, with the trunk stability, with some of these things. That sound good?
Love it. Let's do it.
Okay. Let me spotlight Ryan's video here. Go ahead.
Okay, so essentially our 6 checkpoints, right? So starting with the feet, if you're standing, your feet are screwed into the ground. But if you're in this position, your big toes are dug into the ground and your heels are together, okay? And then the next thing is that you're driving your knees out. That's actually a really good cue for this, because it forces you to squeeze your glutes. Okay, so if my big toes are drove into the ground, and then I'm rotating my feet in, I'm pretty much still screwing my feet into the ground. Okay, and then the second thing is neutral pelvis, right? That's where we're looking for lumbar extension. If they have a big anterior tilt or a posterior tilt, that's where you're going to start to notice some of these different positions. So whether you're doing a squat right here or doing a hard style plank, you're still looking for that neutral pelvis that we spent like 20 minutes doing this guy, right? You're still looking for that neutral pelvis.
That was great.
Okay.
That was really good. Can you do, yep, yep, I like where this is going. Yep. Layne is saying that you, not Layne, saying you need to take your shirt off and your shoes and your socks for us to really get the full effect. Come on, train with Layne.
I'm going to leave that to Andrew. I don't want to step on his special brand he's got going on.
Okay, so we went from feet, knees, pelvis. Okay, now from there we're going to.
So now looking at our core, right? Again, this is a great checkpoint to look at from what move you taught us. Is, they talk about how if your ribs flare, pull my shirt so you can see my ribs are flaring. My ribs are flaring. My core is not turned on. Okay, if my ribs are flaring, my core is not turned on. Notice this versus this. Core is braced, right? You know, ask your clients, hey, you mind if I tap your core, see if you're engaged, right? So if I'm back in that position, the second my ribs flare, my low back goes into extension. The second I brace my core, I'm fixing and getting back to neutral.
The other thing, one way to easily fix that without even the client realizing it is by big, huge exhale breathing, right? If you try to keep your ribs poked out and try to exhale at the same time, it's really difficult.
It's
right?
near impossible.
So if I just sit and naturally just exhale,
and it hurts actually.
It's going to naturally, right? Yeah, exactly. It's going to naturally bring those ribs down. Right. So that goes back to breathing, coaching the breathing. This is also internal versus external cueing versus tactile cueing, right? This is all the same. We're all tying all of it together, right? Okay. So go ahead. So we went from, so feet, knees, hips, core, boom.
Shoulder blades,
shoulders.
right? And I see Jesse on the call. I'm glad Jesse's on the call because me and Jesse were like, oh my gosh, our push-ups, our shoulder blades were winging. Right, and it was really hard to get where things were at. I'm gonna mute myself in here. It was really hard to get things lined up on her shoulders. So that's the next thing you're looking for. You know, I've got a client, Amy. Every time she does her push-up, her scap, and I don't know if I can even mimic it. Her scapulas just wing out really bad. Right. So now, because I'm thinking of the 6 checkpoints, I'm always really having to cue. You know, and I've even had her work on the one they taught us: arms down. Point your armpits forward to practice that. Okay, that's going to engage my serratus and help me learn how to pack my shoulder. Okay, so that's a big one. People's scapulas are always, like, not
this
always,
would be
but
so much better if your shirt was off. I'm just saying. Go ahead. Keep going, though.
okay. So the next, people really struggle to get their scaps in a good position on these. So that's where our cueing and understanding these checkpoints is really crucial, because you'll get people, their scaps are all over the place. So I found, you know, as we were working with you guys, tactile cues are very helpful because people just don't know where their scaps are at in space. It's not something that, like, people are really paying attention to throughout their day. So if you can help them recognize where they're at and practice finding what that shoulder pack feels like, and then do that through a pushing movement, not only is that going to be so much better for their shoulder health, it's going to be a lot stronger. Pushing with your scaps in a bad spot, you're not going to be very strong, and your shoulders are going to kill you. So that's the next checkpoint: is our shoulders and our scapulas in the right spot? Just like you cue on everything, though, right? You're doing a row, put them in your back pockets. You're doing a push-up, put them in your back pockets, and then press. Get all the checkpoints. We go from there. And then,
the final checkpoint is that tucking the chin.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm not talking
tucking
about
the chin. And that's a big one, especially with planks. You get people all the time that try to look to their feet, or they're looking up, right? Trying to look too much towards the horizon, right? And that will, you notice if if he just gets into a plank position, you see where his spine goes, where he puts his head, right? As he raises his head up, right? His spine, if you just hold a plank and then just raise your head up, lift your head, right? You notice where his hips go. And then same thing, we'll lower your head down. There you go, right? So the hips will follow and the spine will follow where that head goes. Right, but that goes back to, what we were talking about on connecting the dots, right? We've been doing, move you. We had the 6-point checklist, right? Trunk stability, how that translates, this equals that, right? All of these things are interconnected, as we're coaching.
One point I want to make on that, RJ, is I saw this from Eric Cressy a little while ago, and he talked about, like, don't look at the 10% of where experts disagree, right? We follow a lot of big experts in the fitness industry. It's like, don't look for the 10% where they disagree. Look at the 90% that they agree on. That's what was so cool for me, is Move You was saying the same stuff Greg Cook tells us, which was the same stuff Mike Boyle told us, which was the same drills Dan John told us, right? If we have all these experts agreeing on the same principles, that's the stuff you can take to the bank. Okay, and that's what RJ's telling you too. Like, these dots are all connecting because everybody's finding the same truths with how the body moves. And we're just connecting it for how that works for us here at Vasa as coaches here with our clients. So anyway, I just think that's really important to notice.
Yep. Yeah, you're exactly right. So, does anybody have any kind of questions kind of as we wrap this up? Maybe we could get Layne to finally take his shirt off. Come on, Layne.
That's what'll get you guys interested to come back next time.
Whatever will get the people to come back, right?
Will he do it?
For the people. Do it for the people. All right, guys. Well, appreciate all of you. That was great. Great one by Layne. Appreciate you, Layne. You guys have a wonderful day, and go team. See you later. Woohoo! Coaches coaching, coaches coaching. Yay!